Welcome to the show, everyone. As you probably saw from the title, this episode is all about electrification. If you'd like to learn more about Parker's efforts in electrification among all the markets that we serve, please visit the website discover.parker.com/smart-electrification. I'll put them at the bottom of the screen for you. That's discover.parker.com/smart-electrification. And with that, let's get on with the show. Greetings, true believers, and welcome to this episode of Pump and Motor Dialogue. On today's show, we've amassed an expert panel of electrification experts here at Parker. We've got Jay Schultz, we've got Mark Schoessler, and we have Griffin here on the show today. Each of these fellows has over 20 years of both Parker experience and electrification experience, so expect a fantastic chat here today. As always, we check in with their personal lives, put them through the lightning round, and also learn more about their personal and professional goals. With all that being said, let's dive right in with Jay, Mark, and Chris here on Pump and Motor Dialogue. Before we hop in, are we good to go?
Good. We're good.
All right, great. Well, guys, I appreciate you coming on the show today. Just quick run around here. I've got Jay, I've got Mark, I've got Chris. They're going to tell you a little bit more about themselves. You guys are all here to talk about electrification, specifically in the work truck market. Now, we have talked about electrification a few times on this show before, so it's not necessarily something new for our audience, but specifically about work truck applications is something new, so I'm really excited to hear what you guys have to say about it. But before we jump in, I just want to go around the horn, get to know you guys a little better, because I'm pretty sure I'm meeting all of you for the first time, which is always exciting. So Mark, if you want to start off, you're in my upper left corner up there. Just tell me a little bit about who you are, what you do here at Parker.
All right, that'd be great. Thanks, CT. So my name is Mark Schoessler. I am currently the Vice President of Business Development and Sales for the Motion Systems Group. I live and work out of our Cleveland headquarters in Cleveland, Ohio. Been with Parker for about 25 years now. Prior to this role, I was the engineering manager for GMS, our Global Mobile Sales Organization. And that's where I really started to dive into a lot of the electrification efforts and more on the technical side. And now helping lead some of the business development side for the group. So excited to be here today.
All right, fantastic. I appreciate you being here. Jay, same question to you. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Hey, thanks, CT, for having me. My name is Jay Schultz. I am the Business Development Manager for Electrification for the Motion Systems Group. And I've been with Parker for about 22 years, and my entire career has been spent on electrification. Some of it on the earlier side was the industrial and robotic side of it. In the last 10 or 12 years, it's been completely on the mobile and vehicle electrification side. So really looking forward to being here. Thanks for having me.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So 25 years in electrification. So you've basically seen it since it was sort of an idea coming into industry all the way up until where it is now.
It's been a fun road, yeah.
All right, awesome. And Chris, same question to you, buddy. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, thanks, CT. My name is Griffin. I also, like Jay, work for the Motion Systems Group. I'm the Group Business Development Manager for electrification. Been with Parker for 28 years, so not unlike these guys to my left and to the bottom left there. But prior to this role, I was the general manager of the North American Electromechanical and Drives Division, and that's where a lot of the technology that we use today in electrification, particularly motors, but also inverter technology, was originally developed alongside our sister division in Europe. So, like Jay, I've been in electrification or electromechanical technology pretty much throughout my whole career at Parker. So it's very interesting to see this kind of rapid conversion from what originally was only in the industrial space now into the mobile space. And then also just a quick commercial, also lead the electrification growth team. So we've got a team of 8 based at Elk Grove Village near Chicago that is really helping link our customers and our divisions to bring these different technologies together, whether they're electromechanical or fluid power, to develop applications for our premier customers, the big customers, but also, smaller size customers that are also going through a similar journey, making sure we have resources available for them.
Oh man, that was a nice explanation. Spoken like a true business development manager, if I say so myself. So you said you headed up EMD for a while. Where was that division located?
So the division was headquartered in Charlotte, so I'm still in North Carolina.
Okay, that's what I thought. You could be here with me right now.
Yeah. Well, I'm up here in the mountains.
Okay.
Up north of Charlotte. So, but yeah. So we had our headquarters in Charlotte. That's where we built industrial drive products. We had precision mechanical actuation technology near Pittsburgh. We also were the home of what used to be called Parframe, later IPS, which was our aluminum framing product. That was in Ohio. And then we have our motors, including the electrification focused motor. The GVM is manufactured in Minnesota. And then we have our facility in Northern California, Rohnert Park, where we do our electronics products, controls, and drives as well.
Okay, no, that's
all of that was the old EM&D division, which a couple of years ago we did some internal restructuring to really bring the industrial electromechanical together with the mobile electronics businesses, and that created what's now called electronic motion and controls, or EMC division. And then also the motors were combined with the HPS division to bring the motors and the pumps together under one structure.
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. I thought the location was in Charlotte because before I was in this position, I was working with Precision Fluidics up in Mooresville, and we made a trip down to your facility one time, so I got to see it, work with one of your engineers on some problems we were having with some of our control boards on our motors. So, no, that's very cool. I'm glad you're here. Listen, you guys have ton of experience in electrification. We're going to dive into that in just a second. But usually here I'd like to get to know a little more about you guys. Like you talked about your Parker experience, which, very cool. Like you guys are all Parker veterans. I've been here almost 10 years, so I guess I'm almost a Parker veteran. Maybe I am. But I'd like to hear more about what you guys do, outside of Parker. Like what do you like to do for fun? Kind of give me a feel of what you're about. Mark, you want to go first?
Sure. Yeah. So, I like all things outdoors, love to go camping, hiking, hunting, fishing, all those kind of things. Also have a hobby as kind of a part-time woodworker. So do a lot of closets and storage type of containers, those kind of things around the house, customize things all the time. So enjoy working kind of with my hands and keeping myself busy outside of work.
All right, very cool. Jay, same question to you, bud.
Well, I guess my number one hobby is brewing beer. So I've turned my garage into a pretty sophisticated home brewery. So I brew, 10-gallon, 15-gallon batches at a time. I've got 5 or 6 beers on tap at any given time if I'm fully stocked up, and a pretty big setup. So I love doing that, and it's a gift that keeps on giving. I spend a day brewing and I can drink it for the next, more than 2 or 3 days, but probably 2 or 3 months per batch. So, it's a lot of fun. I also play golf and, pickleball of all things. That's kind of a word there, sport that keeps coming up. I thought it was the weirdest word in the world until I played. Still is a weird word, but it's a fun game, fun sport. And, also I like to get out on the water when I can. So, it's a lot of different things I divide my time between.
No, that's really cool. I mean, hey, listen, pickleball is like the fastest growing sport in America, I think. I mean, I haven't played it myself, but I do remember hearing about it like 8-9 years ago, and I was like, man, that's quite a name. I don't know if this is really going to catch on, but it certainly has. And you're a brewmaster over there, which is really cool. I know that's a thing that's taking off as well. To be honest, I think you're the first person who is a brewmaster that's been on the show. I'm a little surprised it's taken this long, but I'm glad we got one. I'm glad to hear about it. Chris, what do you enjoy doing?
Yeah, I don't know what these guys are talking about. Parker's a 24/7 thing for me. I don't have any other interests. No. So I kind of live in a national forest, so I spend a lot of time hiking outside, cutting stuff, fighting the forest. But I'm also learning to fly as well. So I'm kind of in the final stages of that journey, and looking forward to getting my pilot's license to just kind of fly around here and, see the scenery. So yeah.
So what's the ETA on? Oh, yeah, totally. Yeah. We only work for Parker. We don't have fun. We're all Parker people. So what's the ETA on that pilot's license?
Hopefully June or July of this year.
Oh, okay. So you're right there.
Depends on weather and travel schedule and, not screwing up.
Well, yeah, you got to pass the test, right?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So that's awesome. Hey, I already feel like I know you guys a lot better than when we started talking 10 minutes ago. So that's perfect. So all right, let's dive a little bit in electrification, specifically around the work truck industry. So I guess I'll ask a pretty high level question to start. How is electrification becoming a part of the work truck industry? Because I mean, it affects each industry differently. We've talked about turf here on the show. We've talked about a little ag before, but not as much here. So, you know what? Let's start with Jay. Jay, how is electrification kind of working its way into the truck market?
Well, it's a great question, and it's really early in the market growth where we're at today. But if you look back, say 10, even 12, 15 years ago, trucks were starting to become electric in their chassis. So get rid of the internal combustion engine and put in electric drive system, much like a Tesla, but much bigger and much less commercialized than Teslas are, but the same kind of concept. So that was the first thing that was starting to electrify way back in the day. And you had a couple of other type of applications that were being investigated, but now as we fast forward into 2020 and beyond, not only are the electric chassis or the chassis becoming electrified, all of the work functions are starting to become electrified too, because it's transitioning from, say, box trucks or delivery trucks into the work truck. And so you've got companies that are using these electric chassis, and then they need a method to run all of their body hydraulics electrically. And so that's the next part of it, is understanding and helping our customers transition from running hydraulics from the internal combustion engine as a source of energy to a battery pack as a source of energy. And so that's got a lot of challenges, a lot of fun problems to solve, and it has some commercial issues as well, as we're trying to build volume and such. But that's kind of where we're at today, and it's it's a fun road.
All right, cool. Chris, Mark, you have anything you'd like to add to that?
Well, I would just add, and Jay made the comment that, we say it's electrifying, but the hydraulics really aren't going away. We're just changing the power source to drive those hydraulics. And, rather than, taking that power from an internal combustion engine, we're taking that power from a battery and just converting that into rotary motion. So there are some electromechanical solutions that are being developed, and it's very early days. So we're certainly monitoring that, and hopefully we'll have a response to that. But by and large, it is an electrification of existing or very similar hydraulic systems to perform that work.
Yeah, and I think, CT, the only thing I would add, is there's some drivers to it, right? There's some things that people appreciate about electrification, and that's sometimes when you have these trucks working in like a city center or a neighborhood, they like to be able to shut the engine off, but still run the hydraulics, if you will, to do whatever work function they're doing. And a lot of times that's intermittent work. So they'll have if you can picture like an aerial truck where the guy goes up to a power line, they may move that bucket up and then just sit there for several hours while doing the work. So
okay, interesting.
They don't want to be running that truck with the diesel fumes and the noise and all that, sitting there idling for hours on end. So there's a lot of good reasons to do it. It's quiet. It cleans up the environment, healthier for the workers. They can hear each other talking. They can shout instructions, or they can hear instructions without having to shout to each other. So it's a safer work environment. A lot of good reasons to do this. And like Jay said, it's kind of going mainline. They've been doing it for years, but now it's, everybody has an electric option in their lineup of some sorts.
Okay, no, that's interesting. Jay, you mentioned that Parker is able to do some work for customers to, I guess, ease this process along, transitioning to this new state of electrohydraulics. Can you elaborate a little bit more on potential services that Parker offers to help customers along with this, like products we're developing, processes we're developing, anything along those lines, really?
Yeah, sure. Chris actually mentioned he leads the electrification growth team inside of Parker, and so that consists of 8 team members, of which I am one of them. And our team really is tasked, as Chris said, investigating the various applications from customers to connect them with our divisions and our products and our technology. So the first thing that we can do is our team will come and work with the customer and really understand what their goals are from an electrification perspective. How efficient do they want it to be? I mean, we all are on the efficiency team and facing efficiency, but with the utmost efficiency comes, oftentimes a lot higher of a cost. And so the best commercial answer isn't necessarily the one that's most efficient, but we want to, try to balance cost and efficiency. And so our team helps with that. And then we connect the dots with products. We connect the dots with, product managers at the various divisions to help get down and dirty in specific technologies, and really try to help the customers from every part of the journey, from the beginning to the end, from systems design work. And we can even do testing and configuration of our products in our Elk Grove Village facility to help quantify some of the electrification savings as well as potentially some of the challenges. So there's a lot of different things that we can do.
Okay, so does having a knowledge of hydraulics help in this electrification process, or are these two different animals?
Yeah. No, they're actually they're completely, as Chris mentioned earlier, it's not eliminating hydraulics at all. In most cases, you're keeping the same, I'll say, inherent hydraulic methodology and products. You're just decoupling the original hydraulic pumping system from the internal combustion engine. And so in its simplest form, you can stick that pump onto an electric prime mover and away you go. Our team really helped re-architect that hydraulic system to make sure that the efficiency gains can actually be realized, because prior to having a battery pack, if you had a diesel engine, you had essentially an unlimited amount of energy resources. And while efficiency was always talked about, true efficiency wasn't really looked at as far as like all the little areas of losses in the hydraulic system. And so once you have a limited amount of supply in your battery pack of energy, it becomes much more efficient, or much more important to look at all those little losses that can add up. And at the end of the day, if you don't understand that, your truck will be able to perhaps perform the job that it needs, but won't get back to the plant to recharge, right? You have a limited amount of energy in your system, and you want to make sure you understand what all that stuff is being used and how to maximize it.
Right. Okay. No, that's a good point. I mean, if you can't make it back to the facility, it doesn't really help anyone.
That's the worst case scenario, of course.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, it is something you have to think about. All right. So I'll throw this one over to you, Mark. Parker has a lot of different divisions that a lot of them are dipping their toe in electrification. Some have gone very far into it. When you're speaking to customers and you're trying to help them solve their problem, how do you select between all the different Parker electrification products that are out there without, potentially favoring one division over the other? We're all Parker, but each division has their own technologies and their own metrics they need to hit. So how do you kind of integrate those together?
Yeah, good question. So I think, the most important thing is, like Jay mentioned, these are existing machines for the most part, and they're just trying to transition from a diesel power to some sort of electrification. It could be a fuel cell, or it could be a straight up battery. And so we, for the most part, have a very good working knowledge of these technologies as they exist today, being powered by industrial combustion engines. And so we're able to kind of help that transition. But I think the most important thing for us is we don't want to see any degradation of performance, and and we want to maximize efficiency. So we're going to go to our playbook, and we're going to look at all the different pumps, whether it's a vane pump, a gear pump, piston pump, bent axis. We're going to look at all different types of fluid conveyance products, and we're going to pick the best systems approach, right? We're going to pick the best products for the overall system's efficiency and optimization. And the nice thing for Parker is, we offer that complete system. So we have everything on the hydraulic side, and now we have everything on the electrification side. So we have inverters, we have motors, we've got machine controllers, and we've got the team there in Chicago at Elk Grove Village that really pulls this all together. So we've got experts for both the electrification side, which reports up through Chris, that sits alongside our GMS engineering team, who are core to both fluid conveyance and our motion systems or hydraulics componentry. So we try to take all of that knowledge and come together as a team. And sometimes we call it an iterative type of approach. Mm-hmm. So we may throw 2 or 3 or 4 different options to the customer or just internally. And we put them up on the whiteboard and we talk about benefits of each one of them. Do the costs outweigh the benefits, those kind of things. And then we bring it to the customer and then kind of work through it. And then, like Jay said, we'll want to see it all the way through to completion. So we're able to bring the equipment in. We're able to put our electrification componentry, our hydraulic componentry on the vehicles with the customer, and then kind of do a before and after snapshot. So we do heat, energy mapping and those kind of things to help, not just show it on paper, but also show it in practice. So.
Okay. Well, that kind of starts to answer a little bit of my next question. Chris, this team of electrification gurus that you've got under you, I mean, Jay's on it. He's been in electrification for 25 years, I think he said. You're on it. You've been in there for quite a while as well. Can you tell me a little bit more about the team in general? I mean, is it specifically electrification folks? Is it some hydraulics folks? I mean, is people outside of engineering and marketing? What does this team look like, and how do they all get together and collaborate? I mean, Mark mentioned some good things about how they help the customer, but internally, like, what does it look like?
Yeah, that's how much time do we have? It's a very I consider it a bit of an all-star team. We've been very lucky with the folks that we've been able to bring onto the team. The largest portion of the team is what we call system application engineers.
Okay.
So we have 4 plus a kind of a player coach. His name's Varun Acharya, who came from the Global Mobile Systems team.
Oh yeah, he's been on the show before.
Basically, they are there to when an opportunity comes in, they're the ones that sort of vet it out and determine what's the best solution approach, and then they will then coordinate with the different divisions to put a system together. The thing about electrification, you asked the question about division. How do you juggle the divisions and their priorities? A division-centric approach in electrification is going to be self-limiting. There are multiple divisions that have to work together to make an electrification solution work. So that's the inverter division, it's the motor division, it's the pump division. Those 3 things have to come together to work, or else you're not going to get hydraulic power. So I think at the motion systems group level, we're doing things very differently, I think, with electrification, where the divisions really see themselves as part of a global development team. So we're sharing projects between regions, and we're working very closely together to make sure that one division's product is designed to work alongside another division's product. Otherwise, it's just not going to work well.
Okay, so it's a big cross-division, cross-group effort.
And global, yes, absolutely. So we've got the applications team, and these are the guys that they're working directly with with our customers, but also liaising with the divisions as well. We've got a business development function. That's basically myself and Jay. We kind of share a brain, I think, half the time. Poor Jay. And then we also have a program manager named Rich Nagel, who is kind of a jack of all trades right now. He is working as a program manager, working with those different divisions, making sure that their development programs are kind of on time, on budget, and aligned with each other. But there are also, we have the project management office at the group level. There's a lot of folks making sure that we're doing the right things. But Rich does a lot of that. But he also takes on additional projects. We're developing an online sizing tool, so he's sort of leading that effort. He helps also developing our training programs, which have expanded quite a bit over the last 12 months. And so we all kind of work together to get the job done right now. We're primarily focused on North America. However, we are available for other regions as well. So we have some active projects in Asia Pacific. We have a much stronger existing infrastructure in Europe, so we're more of an advisor to Europe rather than taking the lead. But we work very closely, making sure that we're sharing our experiences and staying coordinated.
Okay. So it sounds like that you guys, I mean, you're covering all the bases pretty much. I mean, you've got some development in there that you're assisting with getting started. I mean, you've got some of the customer outreach and customer interface. You mentioned some of the sizing, programming, things like that. So okay, no, it sounds like it's quite a lot of work, but it sounds like it's a worthy effort to push Parker into this new world of electrification. So the next,
this team's built around the growth triangle concept, if you're familiar with that. So you've got your customer facing, you have your application engineering, and we also have basically dotted line connections to technical experts at the divisions, at the motion technology center, at the group, that also kind of together we, fulfill the customer's expectations.
Gotcha. All right. Well, speaking of meeting customer expectations, and this is open to all of you. When you are interfacing with a customer, how does that go about? Does the customer reach out to you? Are you doing market research to find out what a customer may potentially need and something Parker can help solve? And how do you go through that process with them? Somebody just go for it. I know you all got answers.
All right, I'll go. So I guess myself as business development manager, I'm very much on the customer facing team, and so part of my role is to be the electrification evangelist, if you will, for Parker's stuff. And so I reach out and work very closely with our global mobile systems sales team and try to talk to them about their accounts. What are they doing, and if they don't know, I'll be happy to help, get on a call with them and ask questions that may spark some good conversation on their side that drives potentially some of the programs forward. We engage in trade shows, and so we have inbound leads then that people ask us about our technology. We help existing customers who know they are moving in electrification and know their account managers from Parker, and then guys from GMS reach out to us. As Chris said, we're based at Elk Grove Village. So a lot of those guys, if they hear their customers are coming up with some electrification program, they'll reach out to them. And then likewise, they'll reach out to someone on Chris's team. A lot of time myself or Barun are the two people that are maybe the first guys in when we're talking about electrification. So that's kind of in a nutshell how we might engage.
Howdy there, folks. Just wanted to remind you of all the quality products we have here at the Pump and Motor Division. From gear pumps to torque motors to transmissions and more, you can find them all at parker.com/PMD. That's parker.com/PMD. Now let's jump back in the show with Mark, Chris, and Jay. All right. So we've mentioned customer interactions. We've mentioned the electrification team and how it's sort of pushing Parker into electrification. Well, not pushing Parker, but, breaking the ground for electrification for Parker. We mentioned a little about applications. Each of you have spoken a little bit about applications just because it's come up in other questions. But what sort of applications can electrification go into within the truck market? I mean, is it most of them, half of them, all of them? What does it look like out there? Just for simplicity's sake, we'll let Mark go first.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, that's a great question. And, so work trucks, if you define them, what is a work truck, right? So that's, we think of like a heavy duty truck platform, like a cement truck, a refuse truck, an aerial work platform, a box truck with maybe like a hydraulic tailgate on it. So there's any number of work trucks out there, vacuum trucks, all sorts of stuff. And, I would say for the most part, all of that could be electrified. The technologies that we have more power available than the current diesel technology puts out on vehicles that go down the highway, for instance. Today.
Okay.
So it can easily be converted. It really comes down to the amount of batteries that you want to put on the truck. And in some cases, they actually can plug these things in on site. So and I mentioned earlier that it could be an alternative power source as well, like what we call mentioned it earlier, the fuel cells, like a fuel cell or something like that. But yeah, I think you could electrify just about any function on there. But where we're seeing it, I mentioned earlier the work trucks where you'd have the person up in the bucket, and this would be used to make the hydraulics move up and down. You could use it on any rotating group, right? So
Okay.
if you have a water pump, like for a fire engine, if you have a air pump, like an air compressor, if you have like a sump pump or something like that, like a vacuum truck. Those would be great examples where things are being electrified. And then on refuse side, we see it a lot on like the side loaders where the refuse truck comes up alongside your curb today and picks up the trash can and empties it in the truck. So well, all good examples, but I don't know, I guess Chris and Jay, you've probably got one or two that maybe we hadn't come across in the past, but it's pretty much everything that you see today, I think is an option to be electrified for the future.
All right. Jay, Chris,
Mark,
you agree with that?
Yeah, Mark, what you were describing is what we would call a work or an auxiliary application. So, you're providing that hydraulic power source, or you're driving another device which needs, a rotary input, right? That's a lot of what electrification does. It's a rotating shaft, which is, producing power to create work. The other applications that we can do on these vehicles, there's traction, okay? Depending on the chassis, sometimes they already have a predefined powertrain. A lot of the big powertrain manufacturers are electrifying as well. So sometimes the chassis is kind of predestined, and then it becomes a work truck when the bodybuilder buys the chassis and then puts their stuff on it. So sometimes we're not involved in that, but sometimes we are. We do have some electric truck chassis like class 4 through 7, some not really 8. Where we can provide traction. We're driving a transmission. We're driving some sort of e-axle. And then the other application that we can do is the generator. So the motor, if it's not motoring, if it is driven, it can also act as a generator to recharge the battery or otherwise provide a power source. So those are kind of the other applications that we get involved in.
Okay. So I've always heard that the battery is somewhat of a limiting factor for the technology right now. Is that true? And if so, how long do you think it will be before the battery technology catches up? Or are we almost there? Jay, go for it. You haven't said anything in a little while.
Okay. So when you say the limiting, I just want to preface that, and it's limiting in two reasons. Not necessarily performance limiting. It's limiting because of the amount of energy that can be stored given either volume or given a cost target, right? So it's like your fuel tank. And so batteries are fantastically efficient. It's a great methodology, but they become very large and very expensive very quickly. So the more higher power work functions on a truck, like a refuse vehicle, for example, there's a lot of work being done. They require a pretty significant amount of battery pack. So when you say limiting technology or limiting factor, the idea is then, okay, how much does it make sense from a cost effective or from a commercial perspective? Does it make sense to put this battery cost adder on the vehicle? And so if, let's just say it takes 400 kilowatt hours or 200 kilowatt hours, depending on the truck and the route to get done, and to do both the distance of the route as well as all the work functions, and that is an extremely large and extremely expensive bill of material component, is it worth it? So that's where the limiting factor is. And so as we look at technology improvements in battery manufacturing, chemistry, et cetera, that's where the technology is going and is going to become even more of a driver, because as we move towards lower cost and higher energy density, it will become even much more commercially viable as we move forward. And so that's, I guess, the limiting factor is how much energy we can store given a particular volume or a given price target for that pack. Okay.
Well, I appreciate your answer and I appreciate your clarification. Both were super helpful.
The other thing, CT, I would just add to that is, the weight. So these batteries are very heavy. So if you take a refuse truck, for example, any extra payload you add for the battery takes away from trash that you could be hauling down the road. So and whether that's a cement truck, a refuse truck, you name it, a lot of trucks are hauling goods. So the heavier the battery, the less payload that you can have, which, factors in that overall efficiency equation that Jay mentioned earlier. So.
Okay. But I mean, I guess to an extent that you also have to factor that into gas powered vehicles as well. I mean, the gas that's being carried by the truck is still a certain amount of weight that has to be factored into those equations. So this isn't necessarily a new problem. It's just
Bigger.
Bigger. Yeah. Exactly. All right, guys. Well, I believe that's all the questions I've got for you on electrification. I do want to say, Sam, if you're listening and I missed anything, we're all very sorry, but I think we did a good job. If is there anything else that you guys would like to say before we jump into our little game at the end here? All right, cool. That sounds good. All right, so I've got 10 questions. Let's see. Yeah, you guys can't see through it, even though I got these lights blasting on me. I've got 10 questions for you guys. Short answer. If you feel you need to explain yourself, by all means, go ahead. Again, none of these are gotcha questions or anything controversial. It's all for fun, but if you don't feel comfortable answering any of them, that's fine too. So let's say for this first one, we'll go Mark, Jay, Chris, and we'll switch it up just because we can't give Mark all the best picks on all these answers. So first off, what's your favorite cookie?
Chocolate chip.
Chocolate chip. Okay. Jay?
Snickerdoodle.
Snickerdoodle. All right. Chris?
Sugar.
Sugar. No one said sugar
Sugar.
yet, but it's a good cookie.
Best cookie in the world.
Yeah. There you go. All right. We'll go in reverse order on this one. So Chris, will hit you first. What's your favorite day of the week?
Gotta be Saturday.
Gotta be
I
Saturday.
don't have a good reason, but
I
it
mean,
came to mind.
no, it's a good day. Jay?
We'll say Friday.
Friday. Okay. What about you, Mark?
I think my favorite day is Sunday. Usually I work hard Saturdays and then relax on Sundays.
Okay. Good. All right. So this one might get a little tricky for whoever goes last, but would anybody volunteer to go last? Make it harder on yourself.
Sure, I'll go last.
All right, Jay, you'll go last. All right. Mark, name me one of the 7 dwarves.
Sleepy.
Sleepy. All right, Chris, name me another one.
Dopey.
All right, Jay, it's coming to you.
Grumpy.
So look at that. Perfect. Didn't even hesitate. All right, guys. Jay, what is your favorite place? Now, this can be a real place. This can be a imaginary place. This can be just a point in time. But what is your favorite place?
Geez, I should have gone last on that one. That's way harder than the door. I'm gonna say somewhere on an island in the Caribbean would be my favorite place.
Okay, just somewhere in the Caribbean. Chris, how about you?
My favorite place in the world is Vienna.
Vienna. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Very nice.
For many reasons.
For various reasons. Yeah, I'm sure we can all come up with reasons why. Mark?
Yeah, I think my favorite would be just anywhere on a boat out on the water somewhere.
Okay. Deep sea, lakes, what are we talking about here?
Could be any body of water. Pond, lake,
A pond.
ocean. Yeah.
I love taking boats out on the ponds. All right, you guys can just shout out the answer to this one. You can do it all at the same time if you want. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Coffee.
Neither.
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 No, that's fine. I hear you. I don't like coffee myself, and tea is occasionally, but well, straight tea. Sweet tea is a little different, but that's not even really.
Lemon Arizona iced tea during pickleball is the best.
Ugh, well, okay, that's fine. On a scale of 1 to 10, how good of a driver are you?
10.
In your own opinion, 10. That's a man with confidence right there. 10. Okay, Mark.
I would say 9.
Okay, well, at least Mark has some sort of realization of self
Room to
there.
grow. Yeah.
I mean, Chris and Jay are practically indie drivers from what they're telling me, but all right. 10 it is.
10 is safety. Safety is not like ability to turn corners fast and stay straight. It's safety.
Okay.
How I rate that 10.
No, that's a good explanation of your thought process, because how good of a driver are you is a very bit of a nebulous question. All right, so we'll go around the horn on this one. Mark, we'll go with you first. Fill in the blank. Taylor Swift is blank.
A very talented artist in the music industry.
Okay. All right. Jay, what you got for me?
Country singer.
Country singer? Okay, I'd argue she hasn't been for about 20 years, but that's fine. Chris, how about
The
you?
Roots.
Taylor Swift is the bane of my existence.
The bane of your existence.
I just drove 14 hours last weekend to take my daughter to Nashville to see Taylor Swift.
Wow.
That's awfully
Got
nice
stuck
of you,
in
though.
downtown Nashville for like an hour trying to get out of there with Swifties everywhere.
Well, you're a good
Yes.
dad. You're a good dad, so good on you for that. All right, guys. Cake or pie? Shout out this one. Go for it.
Cake.
Neither.
All right, so
Neither.
Chris said pie. Jay said neither. Neither? I mean, neither.
Would rather have Sour Patch Kids.
Oh, why not? Sour Patch Kids and baked goods are in the same category. Let's roll with it. All right. Chris, say a word in Spanish for me.
Abierto.
Oh, okay. Jay?
Electrification.
Oh, I'm sorry. All right, we'll have to check with the judges on that one.
Yeah.
Mark?
Hola.
Taking the smart man's way out. There you go. All right, guys. Last question. Appreciate you doing this with me here. And this is actually one of the most contentious questions that we have. It seems silly, but people often have strong opinions on it. Black or refried beans?
Black beans.
Black beans.
I wouldn't recognize the difference.
Wow. Okay. You guys are the most relaxed guest I've had on that question. Usually every time it's like, no, either. I like black. I like refried. The other ones, get them out of here. I don't like them. But, and Chris is he's down for whatever. Which, hey, man, it's cool. It's up in everyone. So that was the lightning round. I appreciate you guys playing along. The last question I usually ask everyone before I let them off the show is, give me one personal goal and one professional goal that you have for yourself right now. And Jay, we can start with you.
So, professional goal would be, very similar to what we've all been talking about here today, is to try to advance the efforts, or Parker's success in electrification and work trucks, agriculture, any type of vehicle that we service right now. It's a big lifelong professional goal probably. And, personal goal, I just like to try to open up a brewery one day, maybe in retirement. That's a stretch, but it is out there.
No, it's good. Keep it in mind now. Get there later. That's a good one. Chris, how about you?
Yes, professionally, it would be for this growth team we talked about to either not be needed or have the role change, because we will have introduced this sort of technology to the mainstream of Parker. And it's more of a fundamental. So not that I don't want a job. I'm just saying we want to we want to make this endemic, right?
Yeah, you want the team's job to have been completed.
Yeah. Personally, I guess to get that darn pilot's license and spend some time flying on the weekends would be very fun for me, and probably just to relax a little more.
Okay, well, it'd be a lot faster to get to Nashville in a plane than driving there.
And you have to deal with the Taylor Swift traffic.
Yeah, I'm sure there are much less Swifties flying through the air.
Yeah.
Mark, how about you?
Yeah, so professionally, I just started this role for Parker back in January. So my short-term professional goal is really to get up to speed as quickly as possible, and really long-term is just exceed everybody's expectations and elevate the group alongside that. So, and then on a personal note, just moved to Ohio. So organized the house, and but more importantly, I was able to get a nice workshop alongside the house. So I'd like to make that into a semi-professional woodworking workshop.
Nice. Very good. I like how all three of your personal goals revolved around your own hobbies, which is always nice. Guys, well, that's all I've got for you today. I appreciate you coming on the show. If there's nothing else that you want to say or talk about, this is where we leave it. I appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, CT.
All right.
Yeah, thanks, CT.
Absolutely,
Appreciate
guys. Have a good one.
You too. Bye.
And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, the latest episode of Pump and Motor Dialogue in the books. I'd like to thank Mark, Chris, and Jay all for being on the show, and I'd also like to thank Sam Smith for getting us all organized together to talk about electrification. Electrification is a fascinating new part of the industry, and it's great to see that Parker is out there leading the charge. If you'd like to learn more about Parker's efforts within the electrification space, please visit the website discover.parker.com/smart-electrification. As always, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or would like to be on the show, shoot me an email at pumpmotor@parker.com. That's PUMPMOTOR@parker.com. And make sure to follow, like, or subscribe anywhere you can find podcasts. Stitcher, SoundCloud, Spotify, Libsyn, Apple Music. Anywhere there are podcasts, you can find Pump and Motor Dialogue. So be sure to subscribe so you can download the latest and greatest episodes straight to your smartphone. With all that being said, my name is CT Leffler. This has been Pump and Motor Dialogue, and he has got to be the worst pirate I've ever heard of. But you have heard of me. Have a good one.